Whenever this monster raised its head, people had to be on high alert because just making any sound could attract disaster. But this time, the monster fell into a trap. It turns out that when humanity was on the brink of being wiped out by alien monsters, two Indians racked their brains and finally figured out a way to capture them. They took a container to an open field and hid on either side. All they had to do was press a homemade remote control to activate the speaker on top of the cage, which would immediately attract a monster. The moment it entered the cage, they would press the button again, and the gate would fall, trapping the monster like a defeated soldier. However, the creature was incredibly strong, and in the blink of an eye, had already dented the container in several places. Seeing this, one of the Indians quickly grabbed his homemade weapon, and with a beam of light, sent the monster to the afterlife. With the success of the first test, the two exchanged glances and understood that they needed to act quickly to completely wipe out these invading creatures. When they pressed the remote for the second time, another monster was drawn to the sound, and as expected, it was also locked in the cage and easily sent to the afterlife with a shot. Then came the third, the fourth, and as more monsters were killed, the tension between the two eased, and they began to act more in sync. They even started switching roles so that both could experience the thrill of killing the monsters. Now, all it took was pressing the remote, and the monsters would fall into the trap. It was a very simple process. 3 days later, the bodies of the monsters had already formed a small mountain, and at this pace, Earth would soon be safe again. After a quick lunch, they got back to work. However, when the monster was drawn to the container, one of their remote controls failed. He had forgotten to change the batteries. The unexpected event left the two tense, and when the monster couldn't find its target, it started to climb out of the cage. Desperate, one of them quickly opened the remote to change the batteries, but the faint sound of closing the lid was heard by the monster, which began to move toward him. Even with the control fixed, it still wouldn't work. Just as they were about to be devoured, the two realized the gravity of the situation. After this crisis, they decided not to take any more chances and checked everything carefully before restarting the speaker inside the cage. But this time, no matter how long they waited, no monster appeared. It seemed the aliens had become immune to the sound. One of the guys tried switching to pop music, but even then, nothing happened. It was as if all the monsters had been completely exterminated. The two started celebrating, but suddenly the ground began to shake. They looked up and to their horror, realized that countless monsters were emerging from all sides, rushing toward them frantically. How will they face this situation?